Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you a bit about reflection and what I've done over the past year, my actions and how I've achieved my actions, and then looking forward to the future, what my actions are going to be. So, firstly, if we just take a look at the brief that we were given for this presentation, there were 4 key areas which we were asked to look at. I'm not going to read them directly off the slide, but to paraphrase them, basically what we had to do was identify learnings from university and learnings from work, look at our action plan and see how our performance has linked to our action plan, and then look at a plan for the future. So hopefully I'm going to meet those objectives during this presentation. So firstly, looking at the placements I've done over the past year. So I spent my 3rd rotation in sales in Purina still, so I've stayed in Purina. And I was a national account exec on the discounter channel. And then I moved into MDO as my final placement where I am at the moment, where I was a channel analyst working across all different channels. And MDO is our category function, so it links really closely with the category management module that we did earlier this year. And then all these images around the outside kind of represent my limitations and the things that I found beneficial from these placements. So the flower represents how, in sales, I think I kind of grew as a person and grew in confidence. The arrows represent how cyclical I think the function was. That was one of the challenges for me because it was working on a monthly process. The next icon is based on how everything, all the attention to detail is really important in sales, and if there is an error, people will notice it. And then the target is, there are really strict targets in sales, and that's something that was very different to all the other functions I've experienced. And then sales was a bit of a light bulb moment for me. I didn't think I was going to like it, and I did. So that's what the light bulb represents. MDO, very analytical, not my strength, but I tried to embrace it. Suited I think I'm quite an organised person, so I needed to be organised in MDO, so I think that that suited me. It's a very desktop, sit at my computer role, so it doesn't involve too many meetings, whereas sales and marketing, I went to a lot of meetings. This was a bit of a challenge for me because I quite like going to meetings, so that was something I had to get used to and adapt to. The eye represents the fact that the role I sit in, everybody has an eye on me, so because I work across all the different channels, everybody's looking at the work that I'm doing. And then the pin is kind of just, it helped me pinpoint what I wanted to do, so even though MDO isn't what I've decided to do, I wouldn't rule it out for the future, and it's been a really great learning experience for me because I didn't even know what MDO was before I was in the function, so.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, it's category. So we look at, rather than looking at the brand side of things or the customer side of things, we look at a category focus. So take pet food as an example. We won't just look at Purina products. We will look at Purina and Mars products and own label products and look at the general performance and analyse it.
What does MDO?
Market Development Organisation. Sorry, I shouldn't have presumed you knew. But it's basically, it links very closely to the category management module. Sorry about that. Okay. So this is my ECR report results for the competencies from 2015. And then if I flip to the next slide, you can see my results from 2016. So in green, we've got where I improved. In amber, we've got where I remain the same. And then in red, we've got where I went down on my score. So initially, I was quite pleased because on the majority of things, I increased. I was a bit worried that I kind of went down on things like empathy and self-actualization, but I'll go on to talk a bit about that in a minute. And then I remained the same on straightforwardness and self-reliance, which one of them was a shock, one of them not so much. So I've gone into detail on some of the ones that were the most interesting to me and I think I could find reasoning behind. So self-knowing is improved. So I think I find it quite easy to create relationships anyway from feedback I've had before. I find it easy to gain trust with people and therefore I can open up and speak about my emotions quite easily in my relationships. I'm quite considerate of how my actions affect others, and having now been in 4 functions, I think I understand myself quite well. Self-confidence, this has increased during my time with Nestlé and Shoe, and again, now having been in 4 functions, I think it's natural that it will have increased. I've become more aware of my learning styles, and the leadership module has particularly helped me with this, because leadership is obviously something that this course in particular focuses on, and it was really good to see it from a Shoe perspective as well. And then self-actualisation, so this was one of the ones where I remained the same. So I think this was because having increased in self-confidence through experience in my functions, I think naturally my ability to take on more work has increased. So therefore, potentially my work-life balance has kind of, it's not changed, but I think actually it has. I'm able to set realistic and challenging goals. However, I think in order to improve this for next year, if I'm going to take my ECR again, I need to take more risks and take time out to focus on things that motivate and inspire me rather than necessarily other people. And then empathy, so potentially my perception of myself has changed rather than my actual behaviour. So this was just about, obviously the ECR report is a report that you take about yourself, and it's your self-belief of what you think you are. I think that I could have realised actually that in the work environment I'm not very empathetic, so therefore that's why I've kind of potentially gone down on that. But in a social environment or an environment with my friends, I think I am quite an empathetic person, so it's the mind frame that I took the ECR report in. In order to improve on empathy, practice active listening, and practice empathy through coaching. So we had a coaching day yesterday, and I've been on the everyday coaching course, so continue to practice that with my line manager and with my buddy, and then take an active interest in your colleagues as people, not just as colleagues. So then moving on to applying learnings from university and other things at work. So the RMP module itself has really helped me, especially when I had a work experience student opportunity. So I got to line manage a work experience student, the same as Adil, and we talked about reflection, and we talked about different learning styles and the fact that some people don't like feedback straight away, they like to go away and reflect, and we spoke about that during her week with me. I now am able to reflect not only formally but informally. So before, when we first got told about RMP1, it was quite a rigid process. So I'd follow an ideal, or I'd follow a different model. Whereas now I think I can kind of reflect in the moment. I reflect before PE meetings, so this is again something that happens quite naturally when I'm looking at my performance over the past few months. Insights too, so getting to know each other a bit better. Reflecting throughout a process or event now, not just after. And reflecting has improved my ability to ask better questions, so open questions. And then using coaching conversations as a method of reflection. And then moving on to look at some key actions from 2015. So we all created an action plan, and I'm going to tell you now about how I achieved them, just a few of them, because I didn't want to paste my whole action plan on here because it was huge. So not to see negative people and so this is under optimism, which was a high priority for me, but a strength, but I still thought that it was important to develop it further. So not to see negative people, negativity as an obstacle, and I think I've achieved that through my buddy relationship and influencing my buddy through different challenges, and then encouraging my team to be more optimistic. So in MDO they have what's called a wellness team, where I'm a member of that team, and that's all about boosting morale, creating activities that the team can do that are going to help create a better environment to work in. Another action I created for myself was under self-reliance, which was a medium priority, but again a strength. So sometimes I prioritise other people's agendas when I'm under pressure or in an unfamiliar territory rather than something that actually should be a priority for me. So an example of this might be if my line manager was to give me a piece of work that's a priority for him, but I've actually got a university deadline coming up, I need to be more confident in challenging him that that is a priority for me. So now I always note down my expectations before a task, so before, say, the group project, make sure I know my deadlines, note down the expectations, and therefore feel more equipped to go back to my line manager and have that conversation. And then, so self-reliance has not actually changed on my ECR report, so it's one of the ones that stayed the same that was in amber, but I actually think that it has improved. So my channel analyst role, I had to be quite self-sufficient. Like I said, I've not got an actual team around me. I'm the only person really doing the role I'm doing. So I think my self-reliance has had to improve as a result of that. And then empathy. So this is a high priority for me, but it was one that needed development. So under this was I needed to find out about others, even if I may think that our interests clash. So I had a tendency to presume if someone had different interests to me that we wouldn't get along. So I've purposely had a meeting with every single member of MDO throughout my placement. If I haven't had it yet, I've got one in the diary before I leave. Just so that not only for that relationship benefit, but for the benefit of knowing all the roles in MDO and knowing that if I would like to go back there, not only have I experienced the role I'm in, but I could potentially go into a different role. And then practice holding back my thoughts and speaking over others. So I have a tendency when I'm in a group to just blurt out my thoughts as soon as they come into my head and not even think about the fact that I might be interrupting someone. So in order to not do this, I take notes when this happens so I don't forget it. And then I go back and say what I want to say when there is a natural pause in the conversation. So in summary of that, my key actions for the rest of this year and next year are under self-actualisation, taking calculated risks and being more challenging when setting myself goals, straightforwardness, know what I want and why it's important, and empathy, practice active listening, pause and give your full attention. And then, so this is where I just wanted to highlight how university and work has helped me in both ways. So work's helped me with uni and uni's helped me with work. The project we've just done has really helped me with my project management skills that I know I'm going to use not only for my dissertation next year, but at work. And then reflective management practice, using that in my line manager relationship, and a bit like Chloe, I would like to be a line manager in the future. So to be able to use reflection as a technique with a direct report was really important to me. And then the category management module, helping me understand MDO further from university is something I didn't really expect would happen. I always thought that it would they would go hand in hand, but actually I've probably learned the basis of my knowledge about MDO from that module. And then the leadership module where we were at Thornbridge, learnt so much about the group and about different leadership styles that I can now go back to work and see everyone's different leadership styles in action. And then, don't know why that's there. In summary, I feel I've made significant improvements in areas such as self-confidence and self-knowing, and I feel confident to use various reflection methods and models in order to complete my actions that I just specified. Any questions?